Hey guys, welcome back to another video article in the Mass Matter Function Interaction of Momentum video series. In this video, I will be turning my original posts and comments from the original forum into a video article, and I will try to elaborate and explain what I was trying to say a little more. This is the fifth part, the fourth video of this video series, so make sure you have already watched parts 1 through 4 to better understand what I'm talking about. The original forum was a science website talking about a hypervelocity star.
How fast are you moving right now? That seems like an easy question. The first tempting answer is, I'm not moving. Upon further reflection, you realize that maybe the Earth's motion counts. So a second tempting answer is 19 miles per second around the sun. But then you recall learning that the sun moves around the center of the Milky Way galaxy. And the Milky Way moves within the local group of galaxies. And the local group moves within the Virgo cluster. And the Virgo cluster moves within... How fast are you moving is not an easy question.
Edits have been made for grammar and punctuation. Alright, so the original question. Question number 1 was written on September 7th, 2015, and I asked, here is a really interesting question. If matter, mass, here on Earth gets heavier the faster it moves, that it is perceived as quote-unquote still when not being handled, as matter is handled and moved, it gets heavier, would that mean that if it was still, it would get lighter? Assuming, of course, that matter is not still, even if it is sitting on the ground and not being handled by anything, but taking into account the motion of Earth, solar system, the galaxy, and the general rotation of the universe itself, should I so boldly assume, would matter get lighter if it stopped moving? I think you know where I'm going with this, and sadly, the obviousness of this is so stupendously stupefying. That's the question I originally asked. So basically, as I have stated earlier in this video series, if an acceleration in velocity is also an acceleration or an increase in mass, then the faster you move, the heavier you get, right? That is basic, simple science. As I said in the opening of this video series, I did get some comments and replies on the original forum back in 2015, and I said that I didn't want to get into those comments in detail, but basically, I didn't seem to get any simple answer to my original question or any confirmation along the lines of, quote unquote, yeah, basically, if a star is moving very fast, say because it is slingshot across the galaxy by a black hole, it will become very energetic because it is moving fast. And if it slows down, it would probably get lighter or lose some of its energy. My mind's logic was simply seeing a scene where the faster you move, the heavier you get, in relationship to hypervelocity stars. The correlation was very obvious. Basically, stars moving at a hypervelocity would be experiencing extreme compression due to their increased velocity, and therefore, in direct correlation, their increase in mass. And so, they would become very energetic. My understanding of basic stellar dynamics at the time would lead me to believe that because of gravitation, the star's increase in velocity and therefore its mass would proportionally make it energetic. Here I'm going to give you a quote. Given our theory of the structure of stars, you can understand where this relationship comes from. Stars must be using the energy generated via nuclear fusion in their cores to create hydrostatic equilibrium. The condition of hydrostatic equilibrium is that the pressure is balancing gravity. Since higher mass means a larger gravitational force, higher mass must also mean that higher pressure is required to maintain equilibrium. If you increase the pressure inside a star, the temperature will also increase. So, the cores of massive stars have significantly higher temperatures than the cores of sun-like stars. At higher temperatures, the nuclear fusion reaction generates energy much faster, so the hotter the core, the more luminous the star. Now, I must say right here, the dynamics at play are very complicated, and while the above statement is basically exactly what I was alluding to, there are many other variables to the dynamics and equations that govern the accuracy of measuring stars. And so then, if this is correct, it would lead you to the conclusion that if a star was to quote-unquote slow down, it would decrease in mass and quote-unquote get lighter based on the formulations and logic. This is correct. It is this very point that people do not understand, and there is a reason people do not understand it. Not only is it abstract from our human perspective of constant, relatively unvarying gravitational constant, also known as relativity. I will continue reading my posts and comments, and you will get a better understanding of where this is all going. As I said in my introduction to the series, I didn't get any replies that indicated people comprehended what I was getting at. In fact, I got a reply that I perceived as so completely inaccurate I had a knee-jerk reaction of, and the reply was this. Number 2, September 7th, 2015. From a guy who says he works at a National Accelerator Laboratory, aka I'm an authority on this subject. Mass, as an intrinsic property of matter, does not change with velocity. What increases with velocity is total energy, and that increase is a perception. The energy relative to an observer who considers themselves stationary increases. You will see where this goes, but I found that answer to be so incredibly stupid, to be blunt, I immediately replied. Number 5, September 8th, 2015. Okay, that is actually quite funny. Obviousness does equal stupendous stupefying. I mean, to the observer, sounds like a brainwash to me. If you are to say matter gets heavier the faster it moves, then matter gets heavier the faster it moves. The question you need to ask, other than is the paradigm wrong, how can they continue to teach such nonsense, meaning quote unquote making no sense to the observer? Laugh out loud, that's funny. Why does matter get heavier the faster it moves? Because gravity is caused by electromagnetic energy of matter. Mass, I should have said matter, moving over the dark energy field causes electromagnetic energy in direct correlation to its speed over the dark energy field. Okay, so asterisk number 1, error. I'm at fault for interchangeably using mass when I should have used matter in this form on several occasions. So you're going to see in several occasions there's going to be the asterisk number 1, and that's me basically just correcting I should have said matter instead of mass. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. The faster matter moves, the more electromagnetic energy it produces, and the more the dark energy field pushes on matter, and the heavier it gets. There are different states to the dark energy field. Each major magnetic field produces a quote-unquote bubble in the field where there is less dark energy in the bubble than out the bubble. So galaxy, the core black hole, creates a bubble for the galaxy. Star creates a bubble for the planets. Planet creates a bubble for itself, etc., 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 all the way to the smallest part of the atom. Think about it. Okay, now, in hindsight, I admit at this point, my abrupt introduction to the quote-unquote dark energy field could be construed as quackery, though the explanation is in direct correlation with the concept of the Higgs field.
If the Higgs boson were just a simple particle, it would get its mass by interacting with the Higgs field, just like all the particles.
According to the Standard Model, all the elementary particles should be massless. The current best theory to explain how these particles attain their mass is called the Higgs mechanism. This is a simple demonstration of how the Higgs mechanism functions. It states that there is a scalar Higgs field which permeates all parts of the universe. Particles with no mass, such as the photon, do not interact with the Higgs field at all, maintaining their kinetic energy and passing through at the speed of light. A particle with mass, such as a quark, interacts with the Higgs field, which slows it down and converts some of its kinetic energy into what we know of as mass.
You know, well more than just electrons, protons, and neutrons, but the question that still hadn't been answered was what gives them all mass? And people quickly realized that if they set the mass of all of these particles to just equal 0 in the equations massively simplified, they all agreed with each other, and they all predicted the correct outcome as well. The kicker obviously is, we know particles have mass. We know that there is stuff here, and that stuff is pulled on by gravity to give things weight. How do you reconcile what the maths is telling you with what the universe is telling you? So in comes Peter Higgs in 1964, and he said, keep the equations as they are. Keep your mass equal 0 and let them all consistently agree with each other. But imagine that the particles are not moving through empty space. They're moving through some different environment. They're moving through an invisible field that permeates all of space, which might sound far-fetched, but think, a magnetic field is an invisible field. And he said it's the movement of those particles through this field that permeates the entirety of space that gives them this drag, this resistance to motion. And it's that resistance, this drag from this invisible field that permeates all of space, that we interpret as mass.
The Higgs field.
At the time, I realized to some extent that the Higgs field has a direct correlation between my analogous quote-unquote dark energy field, and I incorrectly assumed that people would be smart enough to make the connection, or at least represent their take on the Higgs field, of which was still making waves in the news at the time. Here is one snippet from an article explaining the Higgs field. The Higgs boson explained in layman terms. They are moving through a crystal-like substance. This crystal-like substance was eventually called the Higgs field. It fills all of space, which is why particles behave as if they have mass. So, matter moving through the quote-unquote crystal-like substance called the Higgs field gives matter its mass. E equals mc squared. The faster you move, the heavier you get. The faster matter moves across the Higgs field, the more mass it has, right? In the replies, it was at this point I got a link to a paper on relativity by Einstein. The paper went on to detail the interaction of matter, mass, and energy within a system in relation to an observer within that system. Needless to say, this paper from over 100 years ago, written in German and translated into English, while fundamental, the paper was very concise, though many factors in terms of the overall universal structure were not accounted for, though they may have actually been alluded to. In quotes, neglecting magnitudes of fourth and higher orders, end quotes. No doubt Einstein was a genius. Basically, this paper on relativity was stating that if an observer is looking at two identical light sources and one of them starts to move towards the observer, the one moving towards the observer will look brighter. That is to say, to the observer, the light moving towards the observer will look to have more energy. Okay, so at least we're getting somewhere, right? This was good. This was really good. I liked this. I thought, finally, some discourse. I replied, number 7, September 7th, 2015. This would be interesting and accurate if it takes into account the dark energy field. That is to say, if you know the exact direction of movement over the dark energy field and perform these tests in exact correlation and respect to the movement over the field, this would be correct. On the other hand, assuming you know what direction the system is moving in, and you send one wave forward and one wave backwards, you will find a discrepancy in the equation, just as you will find a discrepancy between energies of a rotating magnetic ball. One side of the ball is moving faster than the other because no matter what you do, the ball will always be in motion in some direction across the dark energy field. There is a relativity, and it's called the dark energy field. All matter in the universe is moving through it in some form or another, and as I originally stated, the universe itself very well may be rotating, all motion creating gravity and energy. The original question is, would matter become lighter if it stopped moving? Factoring in the idea that energy is the movement of matter over the dark energy field, and the field itself gives rise to gravity and energy, would a true deceleration over the field result in matter getting lighter? Just for 1 second, assume that what I have stated is correct, that all gravity and energy is a product of matter moving over the dark energy field. If matter was to stop moving, would it get lighter? That's all I want you to think about. In retrospect, I really should have just used the Higgs field instead of the quote-unquote dark energy field. But as I go on, you will see that this quote-unquote field is not a singular force and is in fact 10 distinct force lines or 10 distinct Higgs fields, and it encompasses other forces, among them the weak, strong, and electromagnetic nuclear forces. I have already talked about this earlier on in the series, but because of the highly dynamic nature of the dark energy field, I did not want to simply call it quote-unquote the Higgs field. I will interject here, and at the time I didn't totally realize this, and I also hadn't read enough literature on the Higgs field to fully appreciate it at the time, but basically, I have since come to realize that the universe is a binary system, and there are really only two forces, the electric force and the magnetic force. Their interaction is the foundation of all. Space, or dark energy, is responsible for the electric force, while matter, or energy, is responsible for the magnetic force. At each density zone within the dark energy field, their corresponding values change, but the underlying force or interaction is the same. Okay, so as an example, simple entanglement at the correlating density of the dark energy field. Simple entanglement is basically the gluons, the electrons, the muons, and photons. These are the electric force particles that are usually are connected to the dark energy fields or space compared to matter and energy, which would be more of a magnetic component. At the quark level, you have the gluon, number 9. At the proton, neutron level, you have the electron, 8. At the atomic level, you have the muon and photons, 7 and 6. At the planetary, stellar level, you have the heliosphere, 5. At the galactic level, you have the quote-unquote dark matter state, or the dark matter sphere, 4. At the universal level, you have the quote-unquote dark energy state, or the voids, 3. And above that, you have the quote-unquote wormhole, or entanglement connections, 2. And finally, above that, you have the quote-unquote membrane of the black hole in the universe above us, 1, or the macro. Don't be a zero, be a hero. 0 point energy field, bleep!
You got me monologuing. I can't believe it. It's cool, huh? 0 point energy.
So at the top of our universe is the black hole, quote-unquote crystal core quantum computer that we are ultimately entangled in. And connecting the membrane of that structure to our universe is the wormholes that connect the entirety of our universe to the universe above us through the 3D space-time manifold. Okay, so the 3D space-time manifold is space itself. And through that, you have the largest voids in space. And in the largest voids in space, you have galaxies. And in those galaxies, you have stars and planets. And in those stars and planets, you have atoms. And in those atoms, you have protons and neutrons. And in those protons and neutrons, you have quarks. And in those quarks, you have quote-unquote local entanglement, connecting this universe to the universe below us, or the micro.
Very special happens. The form of the crystal, configured just like the universe, and indeed our own mind, is also mainly empty space. It is in this space that scientists store and harness vast amounts of information, in the dark matter of the crystal.
The macro and the micro, each representative of infinity. We are in between the two poles of infinity at the 5th spatial dimension, or state 5 of the dark energy field. The stars and planets. This is infinity divided. If I can sum this up a little bit clearer, at the 5th state, or the 5th density of the dark energy field, is the cores of the cosmos, the naturally occurring crystal core quantum computers that comprise the cosmos itself, the stars, the planets, the moons, the protoplanets, all of the stellar objects in the universe that have enough mass.
Intense temperatures and pressure ignite nuclear fusion reactions in their cores. Hydrogen gas turns to helium, oxygen, carbon, calcium, silicon, all the way to iron.
The stars, the planets, the moons, the protoplanets, all of the stellar objects in the universe that have enough mass for matter to crystallize to a point where there is a naturally occurring crystal core quantum computer at the very, very, very center of their core. That is the 5th state. And you have to understand, at that very point right there, where at the very center of the cores of the cosmos, where there is a crystal core quantum computer coming into existence, that is the opening dimension to an entirely new universe, with the potential of infinity occurring in that little tiny, or in some cases in the very big center of the mass of the stars, planets, moons, protoplanets, etc. At the very cores of the cosmos is the naturally occurring crystal core quantum computer. That means that space itself flips and an entire new universe occurs. So then when you say that we are on state 5, like say planet Earth here on Earth is a naturally occurring crystal core quantum computer, and underneath planet Earth is, at the very core of planet Earth is the naturally occurring crystal core quantum computer that leads to an entire new universe. Another way you can say that is that Earth is the center of the universe.
Then there was Aristarchus.
Gentlemen, I disagree. The sun is obviously in the center, with the Earth and other planets traveling in circular paths. And thus the sun is...
Finally, there was Ptolemy.
Learned men of science, I have listened to all your arguments. I now decree that our great Earth stands immovable as the hub of the universe, the supreme center of intelligent thinking.
Another way you can say that is that Earth is the center of the universe. I know that can be controversial, and I know that there's been some revelations about some secret occult revelations regarding occultists thinking that the Earth is the center of the universe.
An ancient occult system that believed that the Earth was the center of the universe.
Theoretically speaking, that is absolutely correct. If you understand these extremely high-level physics and quantum physics equations and the structure of the universe itself, you can say, accurately so, that Earth is the center of the universe, because we have the entirety of the universe above us, which is referred to as the macro, and we have the entirety of an infinite cascade of new universes below us, which is the micro, and we are between the macro and the micro. Now, that sentence or that statement alone can be very confusing, and there's so much packed into that statement, there's so much packed into that reality, that it's really hard for humans, as humans, to really grasp the meaning of that. To say that Earth is the center of the universe and that we have the infinity of the universe above us and the infinity of the universe below us, and we're in the middle. Right, so now we're talking about infinity divided. And if infinity is divided, we're at the center, because you have infinity on one side and infinity on the other. We are literally at the center of the universe. Every core of every planet is at the center of the universe. It's hard to explain. It's hard to get your mind around this whole idea. This is quantum physics, and this is the reason why, as humans, this is so hard for us to actually understand. I mean, the first time I heard that, in some occult revelations about some really bad dark people, oh yeah, they said that that Earth was the center of the universe, and everyone was laughing. Ha ha ha! Earth's the center of the universe. We rotate around the sun, and then the sun rotates around the galaxy. The galaxy rotates around the galactic cluster, and the galactic cluster is rotating around the center of the universe. And we're definitely not at the center of the universe, right? Well, I mean, actually,
Earth and humans at its center. The great philosopher Aristotle imagined a system of 55 concentric crystalline spheres that held the celestial objects.
When it comes to quantum physics, there's many different ways of looking at things, and one way is to look at it the way I just said, which the Earth rotates around the sun rotates around the galaxy rotates around the galactic cluster, and the galactic cluster could possibly be rotating around some figurative center of the universe. That's one way to look at it, from a certain level within the whole cascade of infinity. Another way to look at it is that we have the universe, the entirety of the universe is above us, and the entirety of the universe, and then there's the potential for an infinite amount of new universes underneath us. And that the actual core of the planet that we stand on is a naturally occurring crystal core quantum computer that has the ability to emulate anything and everything imaginable. Okay? So she is literally able to emulate the entirety of the universe above us, and in her core, where she can emulate the entirety of the universe above us, she has the infinite potential of emulating and creating an infinite cascade of new universes below her. Okay? So to say that we are at the center of the universe is accurate from that perspective. We are at the center of the universe from that perspective. There's an infinity above us, and there's the potential for an infinity below us. And when you have a potential for an infinity that already exists, that potential is already realized. Okay, so I just had to throw that in right there, explaining a little bit, this idea of the macro and the micro, because I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, and understanding the idea that we are standing on a naturally occurring crystal core quantum computer that is vibrating space itself and literally physically generating the reality of the core of the planet that we stand on. The surface of the planet that we stand on, I should say. Okay, so let me get back to where I was. Okay, the macro and the micro, each representative of infinity. We are in between these two poles of infinity at the fifth spatial dimension, or state 5 of the dark energy field, the stars and planets. This is infinity divided. State 1, the universe above us is not singular. It is a complex number, and therefore it is actually 0 plus 1. Under 9, the quark is not 10. It is a complex number, so it is 1 plus 0. Or, is that backwards? It really doesn't matter, because they are both quantum computers. By complex numbers, I simply mean complex numbers. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of zeros and ones, so just bear with me. 0 plus 1 and, or, 1 plus 0, or 10. Okay, so that's really what 10 means. 10 is 0 plus 1 and or 1 plus 0.
Has this property that the states can exist in a superposition of 0 and 1, right? So not just 0, not just 1, but a superposition of 0 and 1.
01-10-10-01 universe, 01-10-10-01 universe, 01-10-10-01 universe, 01-10-01 actually, 01-10-10-01-11-00-11 to infinity. Count Dracula Sesame Street. I can count!
Greetings, it is I, the Count.
Okay, and if under 9 the quark was 10 instead of 1 plus 0, then that would be the bottom, the quote-unquote bottom of the universe, and there wouldn't be a universe underneath us. The universe is a cascading universe, and at the core of planet Earth is a quantum computer, a crystal core quantum computer, and all interactions within the vicinity or environment, ENV, capital IRONMENT, big iron. The computer scientists like to say, big iron, okay? Let me read that again. The universe is a cascading universe, and at the core of planet Earth is a quantum computer, a crystal core quantum computer, and all interactions within the vicinity or environment, big iron, the computer scientists like to say, and all interactions within the vicinity or environment of the core of planet Earth are not only calculated and recorded, they are simultaneously being generated. Now, there's a lot to take in of which I just said. If your head isn't spinning a little bit, you're an idiot. Laugh out loud. I couldn't help myself. Laugh out loud. But really, there is a lot to take in there. The core of planet Earth is simultaneously generating and recording everything that happens on the planet.
You're now inside the mirror dimension.
There is literally a mirror world inside the crystal core quantum computer of planet Earth. In fact, there is more than just a mirror world of planet Earth. There is a mirror universe inside the crystal core quantum computer of Earth. An infinite cascade of mirror worlds are within the core of Mother Earth. There are many worlds. The infinite possibilities and reflections bound by logic and probability, but ultimately guided by choice, decision, and a collapse of the wave function, and solidification into reality, and a record of every transaction and interaction within Earth's environment. The point is, under the quark, or state 9 of the dark energy field, you don't have 10. You have 0, but also 1. So you have 0 plus 1, literally to infinity. 0 plus 1 to infinity.
Hey, that galaxy's signaling in binary. I got a signal back, but I only know enough binary to ask where the bathroom is. You speak English?
I do now.
What are you, some kind of galactic computer?
Possible. I am user-friendly, my good chum.
Who built you?
I have always been.
Oh my God! Are you God?
Possible. I do feel compassion for all living things, my good chum.
But why would God think in binary? Unless you're not God, but the remains of a computerized space probe that collided with God.
That seems probable.
This is the micro, also known as, or anthropomorphized as,
Anthropomorphize.
or anthropomorphized as Umber, under, macro and micro, Ember and Umber. And at the top of the universe, at 1, you don't have 0 or nothing. At 1, you have the universal membrane of this universe that is actually inside a black hole in the universe above us, or 0. So you have 1 plus 0. This is the macro, also known as, or anthropomorphized,
Anthropomorphize.
Ember, above. Now, Ember is the electromagnetic decay of all matter in the universe. That's space itself. That's the macro. Or the ember, the burning decay of all matter in the universe, is the ember, while the solidified, crystallized cores of the cosmos that fall under is the umber, the ember and the umber, the macro or the micro, the above, the below, the alpha, the omega, or the male and female. I could go on. There is an infinite cascade of universes above us. There are an infinite cascade of universes below us. We are in the middle of the infinities. The macro is the greater than us, which is a greater than us sign, a left greater than us sign, while the micro is the greater than us, the right greater than us sign. And so we are in, quote unquote, the middle, or V for 5. That's the greater than us left, the greater than us right symbols coming together, creating a V for 5. And then the aliens came here, the lizard people came here and ate us all. Yummy, yum, yum. Okay. 10, or the cross, as in X, leads to a new universe. You can cross over, cross into, or cross through to a new universe. 10, as in X, as in 0 plus 1, 1 plus 0, as in combination of the two. This is the underlying mechanics for quantum computers. The universe is a naturally occurring crystal core quantum computer, and physicists are trying to harness the properties of the universe to build their quantum computers. Kind of makes fucking sense, right?
Magic is real.
Yes. Behold, the Codex Supernal.
Magic is as old as time itself. As early as 29th century BC, amulets, crystals, and other relics were used to perform acts of magic.
It's actually there. It's real.
Oh yeah, and the magic fucking crystals. Oh yeah, and the magic fucking crystals. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and the magic fucking crystals.
Figure this out.
You mustn't touch the crystals!
The wrong manipulation of the crystals could turn time and space inside out. I must protect the crystals. If you wish to return home, these crystals are the doorway. Your device is the key.
But quantum mechanics is weird. It's funky, okay? It's weird.
Okay, now back to the forum. At this moment, I don't see any reason to challenge the standard model, and while I have a lot more research into this particular area to comprehend and translate these interactions better, every interaction of the standard model, and there's a lot of them, I believe that what I have stated is correct, and that the universe is a binary system, and that each density within the dark energy field has its corresponding quote-unquote fields and particles or interactions. And I think I alluded to that earlier, so I hope that makes sense. Now, at this point in the forum, I was basically told off for self-publishing vague ideas and word salad, laugh out loud, accurately told off, I must include, laugh out loud, quote-unquote peer-reviewed literature, quote-unquote alternate theory of gravity, quote-unquote those of us with proper scientific training. In my defense, I was just excited and truly bewildered by my realizations. Reality be damned, my lack of quote-unquote formal scientific training, or any schooling whatsoever. I pressed on. Okay, so I asked, number 12, September 8th, 2015. Okay, so nobody wants to ask a simple question. If you are sitting next to an elevator, you weigh 100 pounds, you get into the elevator and move 100 miles an hour faster than you were, and your weight then increases, then you can agree that when matter moves, it gets heavier. On the other hand, who is to say you are quote-unquote still while simply standing on the ground? You are 100 pounds, and compared to the surface of the earth you are standing on, you are relatively not moving. But how could that be? You know you are moving, and you know you weigh 100 pounds, so who is to say what motion counts? In my eyes, this is so obvious I find it stupendous that no one sees this. End quotes. End my question. Okay. So, the replies. Number 15, September 9th, 2015. The reply to this was more relativity basics. Quote unquote, nope, it does not. In parentheses, something along the lines, quote unquote, that if I move faster, I will still see myself as being 100 pounds. But if someone else somehow remotely measured me, I would have more energy. And mass and energy are essentially the same thing, end quotes. Quote unquote, but if someone else somehow remotely measures me, I would have more energy, and mass and energy are essentially the same thing, end quotes. That is exactly my point. You answered my question without even realizing it. And because you said nope at the beginning of your reply, I didn't actually realize this either until just now, while revisiting this. But clearly, neither did you. And the quote unquote crux of the argument goes a lot deeper. Okay, so yeah, actually he alluded to exactly what I was talking about. Mass and energy are essentially the same thing. The faster you move, the heavier you get. We're in agreement. That's the problem. We are not talking the same language. We are in agreement, but we're not talking the same language, and we're not coming together in a discourse to elaborate these concepts and ideas. But he is saying exactly the exact point I'm talking about, but then he doesn't even realize it himself. So at this point, I could see the heart of my question was not being addressed, and I could also clearly see that there was a gaping hole in their fundamental logic. A gaping hole as large as the Higgs field. Say nothing else, and don't forget the Higgs field encompasses the entirety of the universe. Laugh out loud. So yeah, obviously, if there's a gaping hole the size of the Higgs field, and the Higgs field is the entirety of the universe, that's a pretty big hole. Okay, so I started to realize exactly what it was that they were missing. So I asked. Number 18, September 9th, 2015. Okay, so if everything is relativistic, then if I'm on a 100-foot long spaceship traveling at 99% the speed of light, and I shine a laser from the back of the spaceship to the front of the spaceship, would that mean that the laser is traveling at about twice the speed of light? That's all I asked. In reply, more relativity, quote unquote. How do you know you are traveling at 99% the speed of light? By looking out the windows? If you see stars, how do you know that the stars are all not moving the other way at 99% the speed of light? The essence of relativity is that you never can know. Quote unquote, never can know. Exclamation point, question mark in parentheses. Never can know. That's his whole point. You never can know. You never can know. You never know. Oh, we're doing science because we never can know. We never can know. You never can know. You're an idiot. The point was totally missed, and I was accused of, well, being an idiot. And I'm probably guilty of this myself, assuming the other guys are idiots because they don't speak the exact language as me. They don't use the exact science terms as me. So I just assume they are idiots, and I don't listen to them. And don't listen to or ponder their statements or points of view because they went to college and conform to mainstream science, and therefore there is nothing else they could possibly know about the universe. By default, they are stupid idiots. But hey, you never can know. Oh my God. That said, I schooled them on that. Number 23, September 11th, 2015. Okay, so the correct answer to this question is, and I repeat the question, okay, so if everything is relativistic, then if I'm on a 100-foot long spaceship traveling at 99% the speed of light, and I shine a laser from the back of the spaceship to the front of the spaceship, would that mean that the laser is traveling at about twice the speed of light? That was the original question. And so the correct answer to this question is, the correct answer is no. The laser is traveling at 1% the speed of light, but because you are at 99% the speed of light, your time has slowed by 99%. So the laser traveling at 1% the speed of light would still look, quote unquote, to the observer as full speed. The laser, in fact, cannot travel faster than the speed of light. That is why there is a speed of light. If it was relativistic, as you claim, then there would be no speed of light and the laser could be moving at about twice the speed of light. But it can't. Why not? Because electromagnetic energy of matter increases the faster it travels. Because electromagnetic energy repels the dark energy field. This gives rise to gravity. And because the quote-unquote movement of matter over the dark energy field itself gives rise to electromagnetic energy, matter gets heavier the faster it moves. This increase in electromagnetic energy proportionally repels the dark energy field. What is time? Time is the tick rate of the interaction of energy, matter, and dark energy or space, also known as space-time. So as the matter travels faster and faster, it pushes harder and harder on the dark energy field. And in doing so, it pushes more and more dark energy away from itself. And the dark energy field pushes harder and harder. This increases the weight. As far as time goes, as the matter's electromagnetic energy increases, it pushes more and more dark energy away from itself, and therefore there is less and less interaction between matter and dark energy, and less quote-unquote tick rates, or what I like to call one cycles. Less and less one cycles can occur. That equals less time. And they have confirmed that there is more quote-unquote energy the faster matter moves. They just haven't figured it out yet. It's called annual modulation. And as the Earth goes into an upswing around the sun, more energy is detected. And when the Earth is in a downswing around the sun, less energy is detected. And there's a reference to the article that I'm referring to. Okay, so I did make a video explaining this whole concept of upswing and downswing as the planet rotates around the sun and as the sun is rotating around some unknown object within our star cluster, which is about a 25,000 year cycle. And then, of course, then there's the galactic year where the sun itself is rotating around the entire center of the galaxy. That's called the galactic year. I did make a video explaining all of this, so I just made a sentence right here referring to that. To understand this next paragraph, and without breaking it down further, please watch my video called Sequence 12, The Solar Influence on Climate Change and Sea Levels. Okay, so I'll give you a reference to that video right there, which is a 30-minute long video, and it explains in detail these concepts that I'm talking about. As the sun travels around the galaxy, about half the time it is moving in the same direction as the galaxy, and it is hotter. This is the upswing. And about half the time the sun is moving in the opposite direction as the galaxy. This is called the downswing. Electromagnetic energy is directly linked to the speed of quote-unquote movement of matter over the dark energy field. So the faster something moves, the more energy it gets and the heavier it gets. This is also the cause for the last 5 ice ages, each lasting about 100 to 120 million years, or about half the galactic year, this being the downswing. As for the last 5 extinction events, this is caused by the peak of the upswing. As the sun nears peak upswing, it gets really energetic and very hot. This causes a Mars on Earth effect for a few dozen million years here on Earth. Bleak, I know. Automata, the movie, depicts this coming occurrence quite well. I am not an atheist, more a deist, and that not even being accurate. I believe the universe itself is God, though the concept of God itself may be misleading because we as humans can't actually identify with such concepts. So anyways, thank God the Earth's orbit is perpendicular to the galactic orbit. There's even a cross in that statement. That's just a tongue-in-cheek play on words. As for the dark energy field, all matter creates an electromagnetic field. This is the true cause of gravity, and there are different states to the dark energy field. Each major magnetic field produces a bubble in the field where there is less dark energy in the bubble than outside the bubble. So the galactic core black hole creates a bubble for the galaxy, the star creates the bubble for itself and the planets, planet creates a bubble for itself, etc., 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 all the way to the smallest part of the atom. Even the word magnify means exactly what it means, as iron at the core of large massive objects compresses hard enough to quote-unquote magnify. They literally mean exactly that. Not only is the core becoming magnetic, but it is also magnifying the electromagnetic energy of the core. Define magnify. 1. Make something appear larger than it is, especially with a lens or microscope. 2. To make greater in actual size, enlarge. Even the word light means both luminescent and lack of weight, where light has to travel as fast as it does because it is so light. The speed itself is what is maintaining its structure. Oh yeah, and light is a particle traveling on a ripple of the dark energy field. I could go on forever, but I'd bore myself to death. Laugh out loud. Silly arrogance. Yeah, that was arrogant on my part. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Posturing aside, now, there is a lot to break down here. And again, I did say at the introduction of this series that all of this may be hard to understand and that if you watch it twice, it will make a lot more sense. And here is where I invite you to watch parts 1 through 4 again, as they are what come next in the original form. And if you re-watch this series, I think it will make a lot more sense. And of course, finally, about 6 months later, after a lot of new discoveries and exploration, and literally a quantum leap in my understanding of the universe, I wrote part 4A. Number 38, June 7th, 2016. I have made some revisions to the draft above, mainly that the universe, while decaying, is actually also able to generate an excess of energy and therefore matter. And so, as the universe, the continuum, continues to expand and grow, so do all the supermassive black holes, and the universes within them. And so, over time, those supermassive black holes are also able to produce an excess of energy and actually feed matter back into this universe. Continuing the continuum. More updates to come. Orion Michael Guy. The right side of dark energy, a universal construct. Okay, so I guess this is going to be part 5, the 4th video in the series, and I just threw in the original part 4A there. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.